All right, guys, if you're watching this on video, I'm looking a little rough because I've just finished recording the episode in tears because my next guest is an absolute icon, and she has been in the industry for over 50 years. She has a list of accolades as long as my arm, and if you know me, I've got really long arms. And she is known for capturing not only the mind of her students but the heart of them. And I feel such a privilege and such an honor that I feel like I can call her a friend, but not only now a guest on my platform. And I have the one and only Sharon Blain on today. So she just left me with some beautiful words, and I always record the intro after I record the episode. So I'm all choked up and flabbergasted. I just am so grateful for these moments. And something that we spoke about is that not only are these incredible moments for us to capture on video and audio for our industry and for the generations to come, but for her family. And I think it got me all choked up because those are the things that I've tried to do with my grandparents. If anybody knows me, my grandpa and my granny have always been my life, and I have spent time recording them for exactly that. I've always been a little bit ahead of it's sometimes sad, but I do always think about when they're gone and what it will be like. So, not that that's Sharon in any way, but her saying that these conversations are her legacy, and it was really it was really touching for me to be able to do this, and I feel so grateful. So not only did we talk about all this kind of stuff, but her whole journey. And something I talk about often is we see everybody's highlight reel, I think, when we're on Instagram, and not their literal highlights, but basically their grid. And you don't realize when you see Sharon, she's known for her education and her photo shoots and collections, but actually there's a whole backstory of how did Sharon Blain get into the industry? Did she always want to be a hairdresser? Was there something else she wanted to be? So we start at the beginning and work our way through her salon ownership, how she went from 3 salons to one, and how that was a better decision for her, and how she felt like that was what she wanted. And I've just caught a glimpse of my nails in the audio, guys. We're in lockdown, and I'm missing about 6 nails. So don't judge if you're watching, because it's not actually my fault, and I don't want to pick the other ones off. um, but Sharon, something that I found so eye opening, I guess, was through lockdown last year and 2020 and all of that. I've been lucky to have some really great conversations with her, and we spoke about how she was getting all her education DVDs or whatever they are. I guess they're not DVDs anymore. I'm showing my age too, but translated into different languages. And I was like, oh my God, like this lady, she's up at, sometimes we're having phone calls at 9 p.m. and she's been doing hair education all day. She just doesn't stop. And I'm always in awe of her continually going on and all the things she's doing. And then her most recent collection was this animated graphic design concept that she had, the way she made the hair pieces and didn't use any models or anything. And I think sometimes what we hear about her um is that she's been in here for so long, and I thought, how is she going to be relevant all the time and not be dated in what she does? And I think that this conversation shows exactly that, that she is so innovative and progressive in what she's doing and advancing her education to be online, which everybody did, but she actually had done it before, like years before. So she was ahead of the curve with where we've been. So I mean, I could talk about her forever, but I think you'd probably rather listen to her than me. So, this is an episode that you would not want to miss. And while I guess I'm rambling, I'm just going to say the most important thing for a podcast and trying to get this platform out is leaving the Apple iTunes review. So whether you're listening on Spotify or YouTube or wherever you're listening, if you enjoy the podcast, if you enjoy this conversation, even if you don't, I guess, whatever it may be, if you head over to iTunes, that's the only place you can leave the reviews, I guess, as well as YouTube, and write down your thoughts and give us a thumbs up would mean the world, and it really helps to get the platform out in those spaces. So without further ado, myself and the one and only, the icon, Sharon Blain. Okay, today is a really big day. I felt like if I were ever to play a musical instrument or a trumpet or something, you would be the person I'd be playing it for to welcome you in, like the queen that you are. So I have my friend Sharon Blain on today. How are you?
I'm well, and thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
Oh my gosh, the honor is all mine. Yeah, I've actually been, it's funny because I do speak with you often enough that I was waiting for the prime opportunity to ask you to come on, and I think the fact that we're both got a little more time on our hands than usual, or not, because I know we're both doers in that aspect, but I thought who better to have on to promote this message that I'm trying to get out to the new generation, and who better to have on than you with all the experience that you have.
Thank you. And I'm, lucky for lockdown, huh?
I know.
Not.
I don't know if many people would say that, but lucky lockdown I'll go with. Well, how I like to start, I have a bunch of questions for you and things that I've thought of while I was, digging up what I would want to talk about with you. But I think the main thing, and I think because you've been in the industry such a long time, people see you now, right, in this education platform and all of these things, but don't realize there's a really long backstory and journey of your time in the industry and how you got in to this industry. So I would love to know if you always wanted to be a hairdresser.
Yeah, I absolutely did, Crystal. I think
Oh, wow.
I think when I was setting my next door neighbor's hair at around 11 years of age in rollers, a very old lady, and I did that every Saturday afternoon. I used to go in next door and try to put these rollers in her hair and brush it out. And it made her feel so damn good. She was a beautiful lady. She was basically confined to home. She was in her early 80s, and she was our next door neighbor. And I used to go in and clean her house as well.
Oh
I
my
just loved
gosh.
her and her husband so much. And I used to go shopping for them. And it was just one of the things I just adored them. It was heartbreaking when they both passed away. But she was the one, believe it or not, that made me think, I can't believe that I could take someone from feeling sad, but then when you brushed her hair out and I showed her the mirror, the look on her face was just so heartwarming. And her husband George would say, "Oh, you look so beautiful, Mary." And I used to think, oh my God, if I could do this every day of the week, like I would do this every day of the week. So, that's sort of when I kicked off as really wanting to do hair. And
Oh
I
my
was
god.
obsessed by the smells of salons, and it was so nuts. Perming was such a big thing. And I would hop on my push bike and I would ride down to the main street and I would just sit with an ice block outside this one particular salon that obviously did nothing but perming and sit there and virtually eat my ice block and sniff the perm smell. I thought it was just so fantastic. So I actually
Oh my god.
started my career at 14 and a half. I didn't even want to stay at school. I was super young
Oh my
when I
god.
first got my job. And the rest is history, of course.
Oh my god, what a beautiful story. I love that so much. I
Yeah,
That
crazy.
reminds me of my granny's hair. My granny had like the classic blonde, like round cotton ball hair. Like
Yes, of
she'd get it
course.
like, a high lift with her blue eyeshadow and her rollers in every week. She would go every Friday and get her hair done with Piero at 12 o'clock. Like it was,
And you know what? I think those clients are so underestimated.
oh, totally.
We forget that, when my salon was at its height, I would start on Friday morning at 8:30 and I would go right through till 5:30. And in my chair every half an hour was my Friday blow dry.
Oh
And
my
they were your
god.
bread and butter. They were the ones that guaranteed you pay the rent and the wages every week.
Yeah.
And we underestimate how important it is to have a client base so loyal to you
Mhm.
that you never have to worry about what sort of a week we're going to have.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have that as much anymore. There's probably a few mature hairdressers out there that maybe still have those loyal weekly clients. I know when I was in the salon, sadly enough, a lot of them died, and I was going to their
Mhm.
funerals more at the end.
Yeah.
But they were your bread and butter, and they're just such important people to nurture and have in your business. And even today, those sort of clients, they guarantee your success. They guarantee the money in the till,
Yeah.
and they guarantee your mortgage and your food on the table.
You're so right. I think a lot of times, especially as the newer generation of a hairdresser and specializing in color, you focus all your attention and all your marketing and Instagram at the younger demographic who's getting a balayage, who's getting their hair done every 6 months. And the
That's the problem.
exactly the
And
biggest
you've got to
advice.
fill that gap in from one visit to the next. You've got to have enough
Yeah.
clients to carry you from, 1 to 3 months or 1 to 5, 6 months. That's a lot of people you need in your chair every single day to
Yeah.
fill that gap in. It got to a point where in my large salon, when we had a lot of massive team there, I personally closed my books down. I couldn't take
Really?
anyone.
Yeah.
And, that happened with a lot of my top people. We would not give a new client to them because they had to manage their clients. But the repetition of clients was a 4, maybe for a retouch, 5, maximum 6. Yeah, that's like drawing out the service.
Oh, wow.
So, those days, the most you would have to fill in was 6 weeks at a maximum to keep yourself fully occupied and fully booked. Now it's very, very different. And, while we think it's great to be able to do this relaxed color where, roots are okay, what we're doing is probably sabotaging our business possibilities by not having them commit to you as much.
Yeah.
Because if they miss that 6-month appointment, you mightn't see them for 12.
Yeah,
and you can't call them clients. That's not a loyal client. It's that one that continue. I always thought it took about 5 visits for you to say, I actually have a loyal client.
Yeah.
And then never underestimate the fact that they've been to you 5 times, because you've also got to think about, well, they are here now. What are we going to do to keep them?
Yeah, totally right. I think that was a big eye opener for me in the previous salon that I was working at. We did sit down and go through those numbers, and to actually see the difference of being somebody who has their clients, on a 6-week, 8-week, 10-week, and then into like monthly 6-month schedule of how many clients I would actually need as someone who's only doing big color corrections kind of. And that kind of work is not sustainable on my body either. Like having those massive clients all day, your brain, you underestimate the brain power of it too, that like sometimes you do just need those classic foils or the retouch client, or exactly what you said, the blow wave client that
I mean, the pressure on you when you have to actually achieve an outcome, which probably in the back of your mind is you're questioning whether you can even do that.
Totally.
Mentally, it is outrageous. It's so hard. It shouldn't be that difficult for you. And I think that's one of the things people are putting, blonde specialists. Oh my God, I would never want to be known as a blonde specialist, because that is just the hardest gig to have to, stand up and do. Blonde is always hard, keeping the hair on the head to start with, making sure it holds, making sure you get the lift, making sure that it, you're not sabotaging the quality, making sure the outcome is right, making sure the stripes are just in the right spots. My God, no wonder people don't stay in our industry. The pressure that they put on themselves when they get to be an expert in certain categories makes it, unachievable and really hard to maintain.
Yeah. And do you think that's a large part of maybe what is happening within the industry, is that it's a conversation I've had many times, being like, because I've worked in big salons and I've been so fortunate that that's where I started my journey, was in these like really high-end salons. The people who are not in those, you forget until kind of, for me, it wasn't until I started doing education and going into smaller salons and being like, oh my gosh, like the caliber of work that we're doing all day, every day is not the norm everywhere. And do you think that's what makes those hairdressers, say, in the salon that maybe isn't doing the root stretches and the melts and the tip outs and all these elaborate color and styling settings, makes them feel discouraged because it's too overwhelming?
I think one of the biggest problems, and it was really quite interesting from Trevor Sorby. I listened to a great interview with him last night, and one of the things he was saying, he said, that first client on the day, he said, if it isn't meeting your expectations and the outcome isn't right, and the client is not appearing to be totally happy, he said, you may as well cancel every client for the whole day because you are totally demoralized and it's virtually impossible to pick yourself up and be who you need to be for the next person moving forward. So, you know, when you live with that degree of anxiety while you're waiting for that color to process, you know, it shouldn't be like that. But sadly enough, we put that on ourselves. We try to give them something that isn't always achievable.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then we're putting that, and then at the end of the day, you charge minimal for that, and you wonder why I'm not just doing another job. And that's when people start saying, well, oh, maybe I should go and do something else because it's just too much pressure. But who's putting the pressure on who? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, so interesting. Such a good point. Well, I'd like to go back a little bit. We talked about how
let's do that.
I like to go in order. I'm a little bit
sidetracked,
pedantic in that way. If I don't go in order, I'm going to end up at your career highlight before I even got to how you got into this industry. So how did you go about getting into a salon? Was there somewhere that you had your eye on, or how did you start kind of working your way up into being in these notable kind of places?
Look, I started in a country town. You know, when I was applying for my first position, I recall 30 people standing outside the door of the salon with our resumes in our hands, waiting for our time to be interviewed.
Oh my, because the salon was so hot and everybody wanted it?
No, it was the only apprenticeship being offered in the country town at the time.
Oh, wow. And that many people wanted to be a hairdresser.
Yeah. So this is the days of yore. This is what happened well back. We could only dream of that today.
Yeah.
And I never got that job.
Wow.
I never got that job because I wasn't tall enough and I was left-handed. So go figure that one out.
Oh my, so they wouldn't have even known where to begin.
So that's what they told me, that I wasn't good at. I was too short and I was left-handed, and then they couldn't train anyone who was left-handed.
Oh,
so virtually the first job I got was through somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody.
Wow.
And that's how I got that position. So it wasn't an advertised position. It was in a very small little salon. It was just the most basic salon that just had weekly people. And I spent my whole time washing towels, scrubbing hair, doing everything that you do.
Yeah.
I actually got sacked from my first job.
Oh my gosh, why?
Because that boss said I was never going to make a hairdresser.
Oh, well, look at him. Look at him now.
So she thought that it might be better to let me off easy now, because she could never see that I would ever make a proper hairdresser. So she's been my motivation throughout my whole life. I recall her name probably on a monthly basis. She was the person that's pushed me to where I am today. She probably doesn't know that. I don't even know she's alive now. So then I got another job through another friend in another salon, and then things went from there. But yeah, I must say I did work. I was a bit of a gypsy in my earlier days. I got married very early. So I was married at 19.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know, those are how things happened in those days. I had my first child at 23. I didn't finish my apprenticeship, which invariably ended up taking me 7 years to finish, because of me going from one salon to the other, getting married, having babies, moving away into another towns. I sat my final hairdressing exam, which is what we had to do then, with a person testing me, and after 7 years. Oh, and I think he took pity on me because I was about to have my first child, you know, and it was a, you know, heat wave day. It was really hot in a salon without air conditioning. I think he just gave me my license because he could. But then I realized that it wasn't good enough not to be competent. And this is when I was still working in the country. I decided that I would buy my own salon for whatever reason. I don't know. Bought a salon, and my dad loaned me about $3,000 for that. And my dad was a hard worker. I'm one of 7 children. Oh, wow. He actually took a second mortgage on our little shack, which was not a house. It was just a very humbled home. And he took that mortgage out so I could buy this salon. And that was the day that I went to University of Hair.
Oh, wow.
Because everything that could go wrong on that purchase went wrong on that purchase. Needless to say, the things I learned through owning a business has been the most valuable learning. Things I've learned is what sort of hot water system to put in. Always do a stock count before you get the keys and get handed over. Because when I walked into that business, the business that I saw, I thought I was buying, was totally fleeced when I went into it. There was no rollers, there was no products, there was absolutely nothing. This woman never gave me an inventory. I didn't know I needed an inventory. I just paid her the money. She gave me the keys. And when I went there, I had no business. I remember my very first salon. I think that very first Saturday on that day, we made $35. And I thought I was on the road. But I realized that I had bought an absolute dump and everything was so bad. So, we just started to try and do a little bit of a makeover on it. So we painted it. We tried to smarten it up, my husband and I. We finally got some products. I realized that I needed to make a loud noise in this salon because there was a lot of salons in the area. And this was like the most rundown salon that you could ever have.
Oh my God.
And I ended up deciding to get more education. So I came to Sydney and started doing cutting courses, went back, started promoting that I've been to Sydney, started to build a clientele. And crazily enough, that little salon that had 1 third year and 1 part-time senior, and the third year, I must say, I got rid of quite quickly, ended up to be a staff of 20 in a country town of just 10,000 people. That was the population of that town.
Oh my God.
We were absolutely powering down there. I had my own TV show. We did well. They had a local channel, and I decided that I would approach the local TV and see if I could do like a hair segment. So I did I think it was a 5-minute show every single Wednesday for 3 years. I paid them $50 for my segment, and I jumped on there and pretty much did whatever I needed to do, whether I had some models showing them what sort of color we were doing, we got an ear piercing gun, so we showed them how we were piercing ears. I showed them how to use a hot brush. I remember selling something like 130 hot brushes within a week.
Oh my God, it was like your own shopping channel.
It was like a shopping channel. I remember one Christmas, we donated all the day's takings to a charity, and we had the local radio station broadcast from our foyer in the actual hairdressing salon, and people came in and had their hair done, and all the money was donated to charity. And that night, believe it or not, we had a big fashion show. We had the whole main street shut down. We had a great big truck out the front, and people, the models paraded on the truck, and everybody sat in the main street watching this big fashion show. So we made a big noise. We did really, really well. This was a country town called Griffith in the Riverina. And then after 10 years, I sold that for, I think, about $85,000. I think I could have got a lot more money. I think it lasted 18 months, and the girl in it lost everybody and lost all her money. Because she thought she could just go on and trade like I did. But you know what? It takes a person to drive a business.
Totally. And the
and
vision,
that's something
your
I've
idea.
Your idea so that's
for
something
that
I've always been
show
strong about was driving. Yeah. So then we moved to Sydney, and then I started to work with a salon chain. From there on, I was there for about 3 years. I had 3 children by then. And then I decided to open up my own salon. So once again, I bought a little tiny rundown salon, and I think that was about $10,000. There was one girl working for me there. I think in 1 year we had 10 staff.
Wow.
And from that 10 staff, I opened a second salon. And then we ended up with about 20 staff in, I think, about 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I had a third salon. And I decided that having multiple salons was really tough for me to manage. So I opened up a massive big salon. It took something like about 8 months to build because it was an old supermarket.
Cool.
And we fitted it out. And I can honestly say that we had something like 46 staff used to come to work there on a weekly basis. So it was the height of, it had everything you could possibly imagine. I think the key to the success of that salon is that we had childcare. So we offered free childcare facility, and we had a purpose-built childcare facility within the actual salon itself.
Oh my God.
Because it was such a large salon, we had the space to do that.
Yeah.
And we employed 2 full-time carers. And what that did was it brought mums into the salon, and the children could be cared for while they're having their hair done.
Yeah.
So a lot of mums come to the salon. They just love their children being cared for.
Yeah.
A lot of staff that went off to have their babies brought their babies back for childcare. So they got free childcare. Some of those mums had 3 children by the time they finally left me. Yeah. But they'd use that childcare all the way through. Oh so gosh, I thought that was pretty unique. And it was a very unique way of attracting clients to the business because of, being able to offer free childcare facilities for those mums, But yeah, it was pretty innovative at the time. I won a lot of business awards for that, including Hair Expo Business Awards and marketing awards and things like that. But sort of towards the end of that hype, I started to do a lot more education.
Okay.
And I thought I'd achieved my goals in business as far as, I'd learned hard and fast. I know how to run a business. I know how to grow a business. I know how to train great staff. Some of my staff have gone on to be absolute experts in so many different arenas. Working for Vidal Sassoon, working for Tony and Guy in the UK, working on film, television. They've gone on to do amazing things, being really successful salon owners as well. I'm so proud to see where their training has led them. But then I started to realize I thought I had a calling as a trainer. I first started with Swashcock as one of their artists. I went on to Goldwall to be another artist with them. But towards the end with the Goldwall time, I wanted to really direct my own education. And, working for a company is one thing, but if you have a goal to be bigger than that company's not going to drive you. They're going to use you the way they need to use you and care for you and look after you. But if you want to promote yourself to be something bigger and better, then you've just got to do it yourself. And I realized down the track that no company was going to take me to the heights that I had a vision that I wanted to be. I wanted to be the best educator with long hair. Yeah. And I really think I pretty much achieved that.
I would say so.
Yeah, I think I have. And I think the minute we step outside and not think that a company owes us anything, a company will never drive you personally to be successful. They will be using your successes or using your skills to drive their own, but not you.
Because you're promoting their brand. Every time you're on stage, you're saying, I'm Sharon on behalf of Goldwell or
and you know what? And I
be.
still want to be Sharon on behalf of Goldwell, although, they don't pay me a cent to open my mouth. And I don't want that. I don't want to be paid to be an ambassador for anybody other than myself. And, where people are being paid to be ambassadors, we've got a nice little following on Instagram. A lot of people would like to have, I think we're nearly close to 130,000, but that's never been one paid advertisement on that site. And we've never paid people to like our site. It's been an absolute natural growth and a natural attrition as well. So, I'm proud of what we've done. I think the day I made it big was when I launched my first book. It's quite remarkable. You don't realize what triggers people, but, a lot of people didn't even know who you were until, you now have a book.
Wow.
And
what is your book about? What did you,
I actually have written 5 now. I'm responsible for 5 books. So you don't even know about my books.
No.
Well, the books, so I started writing long hair how-to books many, many, many years ago now. So they were all hard copy books that
I was thinking a memoir book. That's what'll be the
no,
biography.
No, that'll come somewhere along the line. That's bound to happen somewhere, but not in the near future.
Okay.
But no, the long hair styling books, and then the TAFE colleges took them on, and training colleges use those books as a foundation for teaching. And then I went into doing videos. I've gone on to do the books and video production for Pivot Point International in Chicago. So I've done a lot of stuff like that. And I think that's where I pretty much launched my international recognition as an educator, just through those type of channels. So yeah, it's been a journey,
No
but it's a
kidding.
journey that I've loved. And, there's been the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs, but you've just got to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and,
Yeah.
keep smiling, really.
What drew you to the long hair when you said your ambition was to be this long hair educator? Was it doing that lady's hair in the
Oh,
first
no,
day,
not
like
at all. Not
doing
at all,
sets
Crystal.
like that? Like
Something
what took
really
you there?
quite different. I loved education. And at the time I made the call to do this, I knew I was really good with long hair, but I was also extremely good at cutting.
Mm,
And I have invested thousands of dollars training at Sassoons in the US and in the UK, and a lot of training. So I was a very strong cutter, and I could have gone down the cutting platform. But then I realized, you know what? Nobody's dressing long hair. Nobody's teaching long hair. If I choose to be a educator that teaches cutting, I'm going to be I'm going to be battling for positions with Dario and Tony and
yeah.
Guy and all these great people. And I thought, you know what? I want to be unique. I want to be on my own. I don't want to have to fight for positions with all
Yeah.
these people. Just get out there and teach long hair and teach it well. And then, I realized that a lot of people are not taught well. And some of the people that I've had in my class over the years are astounding people of such, high status in our industry, but lack that skill of how to really know how to dress hair well.
The foundations.
So, yeah, so I realized that, I was actually planning my next lot of education for the year, and I was at a conference in Fiji, and I was sitting outside and I was thinking, how can I get people to learn better? And I thought, you know what? If I could have someone for 5 days and all they did for 5 days was do hair, and we start from the most basic skill and work to the most complicated skill, I reckon I could turn their life around. I could make them really, really good. And that's when I started to think about doing this boot camp.
Wow.
So boot camp now, I think, is probably, I would have to say, close to 60 boot camps I have done around the world.
Wow.
It's changed from its original model. It's changed from 1 week or 5 days to 4. The same number of hours haven't changed. They've just increased over the 4 days, because I found it in the US, because people work behind the chair, they really need to get back to their salons on a Friday and Saturday, because they're self-funding themselves and they have to earn a living.
Because
So I
they're on
basically
commission based
adjusted.
more so than over here, you're saying? Like,
Pardon?
because they're on commissions over there, as
Yes,
opposed to having
absolutely.
holiday pay and
Absolutely.
things like we do in
Yeah,
Australia.
I mean, here in Australia,
That's smart. Yeah.
most of the bosses sent someone, or
Yeah.
it was a lot easier for them to do 5 days. But over there, it's not so easy. So boot camp has changed remarkably, that structure, because of the US market.
Mm.
And I've got to say that US market, if I was to turn around tomorrow and I could get on a plane and I'll offer a boot camp, I had to cut boot camp off at certain numbers, because we just had such a massive response for it over there. And here in
Wow.
Australia, originally the same, not probably as much these days. And also, I think probably not much, is because I'm doing so much more on my pages. I've got more video content, and I have bootcamp online as well. So
Yeah.
that same content, I decided, look, a few years ago, a lot of people may or may not know, I had a really severe accident, and I was run over, and I got a really great payout. And I thought,
Oh.
what am I going to do with this payout? What am I going to do? Am I going to pay my mortgage out, or am I going to pay it forward for the future? So yes, I did do that with my mortgage, but I also decided to invest in video content. And I decided to make Bootcamp an online product, because I realized as my age got on and my ability to be able to offer this as far as I would like it to go, that it was never going to be possible to travel everywhere to teach that hands-on to everybody that may want to attend. So I set up a filming session in New York, and I went in there and we filmed for 5, maybe 6 days consecutively. And I put that all in video content. So exactly what I teach in the class, I put into video.
Yeah.
And those videos are amazing. And people around the world now sign up for the online class. So I feel like I've left a legacy. When I walked out of that studio for the last time on that last video, I felt like someone had taken like a ton of bricks off my shoulders. I felt so free that what was in my head
is now
and only in my
documented.
head
Yeah.
was now documented as a pay forward for the future generations. I felt like it was just such a great thing to be able to have available.
A
for
relief
everybody
probably that
moving
now
forward.
you can focus on something else. Like, okay,
Yeah.
that's your creative juices could maybe get flowing again because you've had this
and
release of all of.
They totally have. And I'm
Oh,
so
goosebumps.
thrilled. I'm so thrilled. And I said to Julie Hagney, who was with me at the time, I said, a bus could now knock me over and I've been able to leave what's in my head behind.
Yeah.
Whereas up until that moment, it was all in my head. And until I handed it out to everybody in those classes, they were the only people having the opportunity to get that.
Yeah.
Now everybody can get that.
Oh my
and then
God.
it has freed me up because, when we move forward to COVID, oh my God, you could take COVID as being
times doing this online education. Like, that's what.
Well, I never had to
COVID.
worry when everybody was all of a sudden locked down. I had the biggest uptake of education because we had built the platform ourselves. All we had to do, it was already there to buy. All we had to do was let everybody know it was there, and people were just jumping onto that daily.
Did your sales go up during COVID?
Oh, remarkably.
Yeah.
Remarkably. And, people were so grateful to be able to do that. And, the feedback from that has just been phenomenal.
Wow.
But now, what do we do now? Like, I'm grounded. I flew in from New York. Well, actually from Salt Lake City. We were ready to do a class on the Monday, and my travel agent overnight on the Saturday night said to me, Sharon, here's your ticket. It's the last ticket out. I can get you on a flight out of America. And they're about to shut the borders here in Australia. You need to get onto that flight now, or I don't know if I can get you home. And I could imagine I would be one of those stranded people, probably still trying to get out of America. Anyhow, so yes, we were all set up for the class. Everything was unpacked. It was all, we left. We had to leave. And so there lays the problem. And it was not only that class, it was many, many classes. We were only halfway through our journey.
So, you would have been on like a singing tour, Yeah.
Yes. I was doing Groundhog Day for 5 weeks consecutively around, and we're only halfway through that. So that was so sad and so difficult for us because, we've tried to appease our students. We've given them some money back with the hope of returning. We're now currently working on how that return is going to be. And I'm so happy that we're going to be able to have our first return class to New York in October, but it's going to be slightly different. Yeah. So, I thought we've got to make this work. How do you change something? How do you fix it? And it was then interesting listening to Trevor Sorby on the Hair Journal last night.
Yeah.
And he was asked a question like, what advice would you have for people today that are in the situation that we're all currently in? And he said one of the things that he thinks about is the world will never be the same as we knew it. And the minute we accept that, then that's actually cathartic.
Yeah.
And what we have to do is look at what we were doing and work out how we can do it differently. And that's what I've been on for the last 18 months. While we've been lockdown, I virtually haven't really left home. Yeah. I've really pretty much considered myself in lockdown for 18 months. But the journeys we've been working on, the way we're going to move things forward in a different way has been so exhilarating, so exciting, so expensive because nothing's actually over the goal line yet.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I've thought about how things are done differently now moving forward and how I can still do my job as an educator, inspiring the industry in a different way.
Well, it's probably, I think something from my conversations with you, and I've been fortunate. We've been having some conversations throughout the year, and one thing that stuck out to me, you know, among many, is the fact that you were translating your educations into all these different languages, which I think is
Yes,
so cool for you to tell. And then the other thing that I think what made you in COVID have to change was the latest collection that you did,
yes,
the
yes.
animation. So
Well,
maybe
the
those two things wouldn't have happened had
no,
COVID. So do
totally.
you want to go through those?
So yes, so I would say we're about 2 weeks out to make the big announcement on the website. And do you know what it's
Was it a
taken,
secret?
Crystal?
Sorry, did I just let the
No,
cat out
no, no.
of the bag?
It's a great secret for everyone to know. So we're transitioning to a big international platform. And let me tell you how challenging this has been. One person has sat on a computer, and the last time I heard they'd been there for 10 and a half weeks, and they were still at it. And they were typing in a text box every word that I was saying under every video that I've ever produced.
So there's captions under it.
So those captions, then the minute you look at the captions, can now translate over to every language. But we have also translated the first lot into Arabic. So people will be able to go on there and immediately they'll go to Arabic. But by doing the captions, what it means now moving forward for Spanish, Italian, German, whichever country you're talking about, because the captions are now done, the translations are so much simpler.
Yeah. So it's not a voiceover, it's that there's captions in the languages.
We will be able to make two choices. We'll be able to do captions, but as the money rolls in, we'll be able to do voice as well.
I get
but
you.
for the Arabic market, it will be voice and captions. But initially, it will be the caption translation. And once we start getting some money back, we will reinvest into the voice translates as well. So, it's a pretty exciting thing. And do you realize I have 300 videos of step by step?
So you're doing all of them. It's not like you're just translating the boot camp and just the one. You're literally doing your whole video
Every
library.
single thing we've ever done is had to be done in the caption form. So that's one thing. And then the other thing was, the collection that I created for the Hair Fashion Awards. I said to Linda when she took over the Hair Expo Awards, I said, oh, well, I'll enter the avant-garde. And so I did. But then when I got to that avant-garde competition, I realized, oh my God, I really can't afford to do this. Because at the end of the day, there's no change out of 10. And that's doing it on an absolute shoestring.
Yeah.
But my general spend on a collection would be more around the 15,000.
Wow.
But I still am a person that follows through. If I say I'll do something, no matter what, I will make it happen.
Yeah.
So luck for me was finding this amazing guy in Melbourne, and his name was given to me by a stylist who I reached out to and said, I'm looking for someone who's great with graphics because I'm thinking of this idea, but I'll need a graphic designer for my project. And she said, why don't you talk to this guy who is an absolute whiz at computer animation and design? And I was showing Oscar, I was introduced to Oscar Keane. And Oscar does amazing designs in plastic clothing or, vinyl designs. And then he animates them into avatars. And these people are like avatars walking around in his fashion. And I had a chat with him and I said, this is what I'm trying to do. So I'm thinking that I can't even afford a model, a makeup artist, or a stylist. I would like to try and make a hairstyle match some of your clothing.
Yeah.
So he decided that he would go and actually design a few more items of clothing. So he gave me what he had designed. And then I looked at
the hair around the
so I saw what the avatar looked like. And then I tried to work the hair to fit with each item of fashion. So on the day of the shoot, all I needed to shoot this was one photographer for around 2.5 hours, no models, nothing. I hired plastic shop mannequin heads for $80 for the month.
Wow.
I took all my pieces of hair in and we stuck them on these white plastic mannequins.
Oh, no.
We shot them.
There we go. Sorry. I've never had that happen before.
That's all right. We shot them behind a green screen. We sent him the pictures and then he put the heads onto the clothing and turned them into the avatars.
Oh, wow.
So I think, you know, I could say it was around 2,200 at the most for
Because you
him
got to
and for
cut
my
all these
photographer
costs
and
of
everything.
Each model's cost, the makeup artist, all, and the photographer. Like, I've been on a shoot with you before that, you know, a 2-hour photo shoot is very unheard of. So that's like, you know, just
I know.
itself goes to show.
We had to work so hard. And one of the biggest challenges was these shiny plastic heads. They don't stick, anything's not sticking well to them. So I ended up, I went in there armed with various glues and various things, but I knew I had to return them so I couldn't damage them in any way. So I ended up taking Velcro dots and sticking the Velcro dots on the head, then sticking the hair onto the Velcro dots. And as we walked along, they were slipping and they weren't holding on. So, you know, we were sticking them back on and say, quick, take a photo now. So that's how hard it was to even hold those hair pieces together. So I worked for about 3 weeks on those hair pieces at home. I love the challenge. Yeah. I'd love to go back and do it again with a different set of eyes because I knew I had a time frame and a challenge. I think I would have done it a little bit differently, but I would like to try that again. And in fact, I probably might at some stage reach out to Oscar and say, I've shot a few more, pop them on some hair just for a bit of, pop this hair on them for a bit of fun. But, you know, it just shows how you can, you know, cope with any challenge. You know, you've got to be able to think outside the square. Well, I don't think we'll be lucky enough next year to get away with not using real models, but for this time I got away with it. And I'm really proud. Magazines have reached out and said, we'd love to feature your work. We love what you did. A Top Hair in Germany just only this week said, can we have your pictures? I judged that competition and I just love what you did. We want to feature you in Top Hair in Germany. So, you know, there's always, you know, it's great. And it just, I think the one thing for me it did was not only promise, yes, I will actually do a collection for your awards. I promised you that I would do that. It also, the reason behind anything I do at the moment is to constantly keep my eyes in myself in front of the industry. Because, you know, it was only in May and I'm quite proud to say I had my 70th birthday.
Oh, wow.
I know, it's bloody ridiculous.
So you did end up being able to have it. I remember you saying about the venue in that back.
It was absolutely exactly the right timing for my party. Yes. We could dance, we could sing, we didn't have masks, we just had a massive celebration.
That was right before I saw you, or after I saw you. Yeah.
I wanted to celebrate the fact that, yes, you know, 70 I'm proud of. I'm not going to go and shoot up Botox anymore or do anything other than be proud of the fact that I've made 70. But what I wanted to do is still be able to have people realize no matter what age you are, you can still inspire your industry. Wow. And I think that's the message I want to get out there for everybody, that age is just a number, but it's being able to continue to inspire. And to think a magazine reaches out and says, I want to post your photos, you know, that's what inspiration's all about. And day-to-day basis, think, you know, I've got my dolls all in my lounge room here at the moment. And I'm working on some new hairstyles at the moment because I'm thinking now, what else can I do? This is a great idea. Let me see if I can work something. And I've got shoot days booked for video production to come up because I want to continue to keep that inspiration going. I want people to realize just because she's 70 doesn't mean to say she's missed the mark, she's not on trend, she's old hat. If I get to that stage or I have a comment like that, I think I would just die now. And I fight that. I fight that every day of the week because I really want to be seen as inspirational and that I am showing people that this industry gives you longevity no matter what. But you have to keep being inspired or inspiring.
Totally. Well, one of the questions I had written down, a lot of times I don't use the questions. I write them in case there's like a lack of conversation or something. And I didn't
Yes,
think
I
that
get
that would
that.
happen. But one of the things I wrote down was how are you going to how are you staying relevant? How are you trying to stay relevant for people who are like, "Oh my gosh, Sharon, she's been doing the same hair for, 70 years." But I think these are exactly the points that I had in my head being like, I saw that collection and thought, "Oh my god, if anybody doing that, I think it would be the most unexpected coming out of you having these
Well, that was half
avatar
the back was the challenge for
graphics."
me as well, is to do something that they would look at that, and if my name wasn't underneath it, would never have put it to me.
Yeah,
And I think that's what I'm trying to do all the time, that, you're raising the bar for yourself. So, that's what we have to do. We have to keep lifting the bar instead of just saying, oh, I'm done with this industry. It's boring. There's nothing, we're in a time, we're locked into some sort of time warp or whatever you want to call it. It's you raising the bar for
yeah,
yourself personally.
yeah,
It's not, and for me, it's raising the bar for me to have people realize that if they keep going, they can be, they can have a wonderful life within our industry.
totally.
This industry has afforded me the most amazing things. But, how do you keep going? It's just like, I think lockdown has been great for me on one level, and it's not so great with my time on the internet.
Yeah,
But, being able to every week do an online class, and I've done that every single week, at least
wow.
one, if not more.
Yeah,
So I am constantly learning. And Trevor Sorby said, it's not what you know that's important, is what you don't know
mm,
is what you need to know.
yeah,
And
and
I think that was profound for me last night, is what you know is not important because you already know it.
yeah,
It's what you don't know is what you need to know.
totally.
And so, and challenging yourself to know what you don't know, I think is wonderful. Let me tell you, last week, I got invited to do the lead actress in a movie.
Oh my gosh.
And I've never done movie work. I've done a little bit of some wig making for a movie, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that's rated high on my list of achievements. But what I did last week was a girl who's in a movie called Red Shoes, and she's a ballerina.
Oh wow.
And they needed a particular look that she could dance all day and it never moved. And they reached out for me to be the guest artist for that movie because they knew I could do that here. Now, if I didn't have all those past skills and everything I've worked so hard to perfect and achieve,
Yeah.
I couldn't have got that girl's hair to dance. And when she warmed up on the first day, and this was 3 days in a row I did this, I thought, oh my God, no one told me she was going to be doing that.
Oh,
But
like
that hair never missed a beat. And I've got to tell you, for 1 week leading into that, I thought of nothing more than how I could make that hair last. I
wow.
didn't go there and pray on the day.
Yeah.
I got my doll out. I practiced. I sewed it. I put braids. I did this. I did that. Oh my God, my
All
head
of your
was just
foundation skills that you teach.
working on, calling on every foundation skill that I'd ever taught or thought about. What came in to make that all happen was just phenomenal. And the head of the department was looking at me saying, oh my God, wow. And I said, I've really called on every single thing that I know to make this work. And it worked. It absolutely
Wow.
worked. And so that to me was wow, so you're never too old. And I think when some people disregard, oh, I know it all, or oh, I've got this, then you need to actually go and learn a bit more,
Yeah.
because
How
you could
could you
become
ever know
complacent.
everything? How could anybody ever know
There's
anything?
always something that someone could teach me, whether it's even a podcast listening to someone,
Yeah.
whether it's just watching someone do something and holding their hair in a different way that you think, oh wow, that's a different way to do that.
Yeah.
It's wonderful,
And
and that's what keeps you invigorated and going.
Yeah, you saying last night, listening to that conversation on the journal and listening to Trevor talk, like, that's a conversation that only happened last night that you've said was a profound moment. And that's just from listening to someone speaking on Instagram. Like there's no
Yeah,
end to the amount of knowledge that you can learn in any way, whether it's 5 minutes popping on a live or, we all are scrolling all day, the advantages that you can be learning in those moments as well.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So we just never miss an opportunity.
Incredible.
Never miss an opportunity.
I'm gonna look down. I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking at my questions to be like, where am I at? Is there
Have I finished them all yet? This is
Oh
the
my gosh,
question.
I don't think you could ever finish them all. I'd never get enough. But yeah, being relevant was something I definitely wanted to go over. Was there a pivotal moment in your career? When was it that you went from being Sharon working in the country salon into what made you start getting your name and, everybody, I don't know anybody who wouldn't know who you are now. When did that change for you, or was there a moment that you were
You
like,
know
"Oh
what?
my
I'm pretty
God."
humbled about all of that, Crystal. I
Yeah.
I actually find it all a bit weird because I know everybody does this you're amazing business. I don't see, you know, I actually laugh at all of that. I think it's a bit crazy. Um, I just do what I do and love what I do.
Yeah.
And I guess I've got a fairly good grasp of how to teach somebody to do something. And that's taken a bit of a journey as well. Um, but at the end of the day, I think the day I turned 50 was a very much a pivotal time in my life. I wasn't prepared to be a grandma at 50, and I wasn't prepared to be 50 either.
Okay.
And I was at that point with my own salon that I wasn't sure whether I wanted to be a salon owner either. So I headed off thinking, I think I'm going to give this away. And because I'm 50, I'm old in this industry. And I didn't at that time feel there was a huge respect for older hairdressers.
Yeah.
And I also thought I'd had achieved pretty much what I could possibly achieve. I was very much engrossed in competition hairdressing, and that's that on the floor competition hairdressing. And I'd won pretty
Live.
much everything you could possibly imagine. And I was thinking really, I'm pretty much reached the end of what I can do.
Mm.
And I looked at going down different paths of, would I open shop? Would I be a florist because I trained in floristry? What else would I do? And then I thought about it, and I was at that stage also doing a few of the Anthony Robbins courses. And one of the things in the Anthony Robbins courses that resonated for me was you have to do what you love.
Mm.
And in that journey of exploring what else would I do, it still kept coming back to me. You have to do what you love. And I realized there was nothing in all the exploring that I loved more than still being a hairdresser.
I love that.
So I thought, okay, if you do what you love, then you've got to be at this age, because that I felt there wasn't a lot of respect for older hairdressers. Then you're going to have to be pretty damn good if you stay in this industry.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to continue to prove yourself more than you ever have to stay relevant, stay strong, stay powerful, and be great at it. And it was then I started to do photographic work. And that's when I
When you were
started to
50
enter.
is when you started doing all
Yeah.
the
When I first started to do
This
my
is what
first
I mean when
collection for
people
Hair Expo.
they would think, you have this glimpse, the highlight reel, everybody says on Instagram and things that you're scrolling for that time and that's what they see and that's what to them in that moment you're known for, but not realizing that wow, I would have
Yeah.
thought that was something that you'd been doing forever.
No. So I did my first hair collection in my 50s, early 50s.
Oh my God.
And beat this, I was a finalist for my very first collection for
Of
Hair
course you were.
Expo Hairdresser of the Year. I never
Yeah.
won. And that year, a girl called Sharon Blain,
Yeah.
a beautiful Irish girl with red curly hair, who was the toast of the town, the most respected, idolized hairdresser in our industry at that time, won it.
Yeah.
And when they said Sharon, I thought it was me, but it was her.
Yeah.
And then I walked away from thinking, well, how do you ever expect to be as good as Sharon Ma? And sadly enough, it wasn't that long after Sharon Ma passed away of cancer at a very young age. I think if she was in her 40s, she was only just.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I remember going to her funeral and, you know, she had orchestrated her whole funeral. And it was just the most incredible funeral you could ever go to. And you know, anyone in my age group or in that vintage will talk nothing like other than the most respected hairdresser for her time and well ahead of her time. And so I was happy to concede defeat to Sharon Ma in that one.
Yeah.
And I went on to be a finalist 7 times as hairdresser of the year, but funnily enough, never won it.
Wow. But you've been inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Hair Expo Hall of Fame, right?
Twice.
Yeah. So how does that happen if you haven't won? You would think that it would go, you'd win the hairdresser of the year and then you'd get into the Hall of Fame. What does the Hall
No,
of
well,
Fame
Sharon Ma
represent?
she was also inducted into the Hall of Fame. And sadly enough, the year she was inducted, she was too ill to come. And her partner came in and we, you know, it was a very emotional night. It was so sad. And it wasn't that long past that time that she did die. But I was respected and awarded at that time for my business acumen as a successful business owner. I think also I was training so many hairdressers at that period in my life. You know, in January, I would take on at least 5 apprentices, all in January.
Wow. For your salon.
And then midterm, I would take more on. So I always had a lot of apprentices. You know, I think at one stage I could comfortably say I had 17 apprentices as I was training. And I had a training room within my salon, and over and above what they were learning at TAFE, because TAFE were doing the training in their colleges, we were doing our own training. And I had trainers within my team that did one-on-one training with all those kids.
Wow.
Week in and week out. So we had a roster for training with those kids where they came off the floor for a whole day and trained with the trainers.
Like an in-house
So we
academy.
trained them so, you know, we had our own academy. I was doing a lot of training out there. And I think I just earned that right at that period of time because I was earning a massive respect. All those kids were going on winning competitions. They were, you know, we were Salon Team of the Year. We were just, you know, really loud and proud. Salon team, and that was called the Art of Hair in those days. And you know, we had massive respect from the industry, and those kids went on to be incredible hairdressers. And they all look back to me even at this moment in time and say, you were one of the toughest bosses, but you were the fairest boss, and you taught us how to be great hairdressers. And you know, that makes me really proud. And then that second one I got, and how lucky was I to get the very last Hair Expo Hall of Fame award, which was given out in 2019. There'll be no more of those anymore because
I remember all your family coming on stage.
Well, see, I never knew I was getting that, and I would never have thought they would give it to someone the second time.
Yeah.
But they believe the second time, which was, you know, nearly 20 years difference, was because of actually it was more than 20 years. It was more than 20 years difference. Yeah, it was probably more like 25.
I didn't realize the awards were around for that long. Like, because I didn't grow up here, or you know.
I think even 35 years. I think they've been going on. I think I might be 35 years. But anyhow, yeah. So it was probably I was about 25 years ago. I got it. I got it again for the way I have inspired the industry in a worldwide for my education, basically. So everything I've done from an educator around the world. So that's why I got it the second time. And yeah, and I didn't know about it. My family showed up on stage. I wished had I known, I would have done my daughter's hair and cut them and styled my grandsons.
You say because your grandsons, I think it was, came on, or everybody was there in their casual clothes and their hair. I remember you saying that, being like, I would have done everybody's hair the week of had I known.
Yeah, I mean, I think they lined up the week later for their annual haircuts. But what a proud moment it was for me, to have my family there, because although my family, I know, are incredibly proud of me, they don't really live in my world.
Yeah.
They are like pretty remote. I mean, no one knows my family. I'm not like I don't post that much about my family. I do maybe on my private page just a little, but my
Yeah.
family are my personal
Yeah.
people that I hold dear to me, and
Yeah.
they don't want to be, what's my daughter doing, for what's she eating, or I'm giving her a
Yeah.
haircut. They don't want to know that,
I
and
think
and
that's
really,
the
I
thing of
think what I try to do with my Instagram and my social media is really just inspirational,
yeah, totally.
not what I'm eating for dinner or what I'm cooking.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's the thing about being kind of like a hair industry celebrity because like you go into a hair show, the people coming up would be wanting photos and autographs and to
Yeah.
our people around us. That's like absurd, like they don't realize that it is this thing like you are a celebrity but within a community. And I think that that would be the best way to be it because if you were say a Kardashian or whoever, you can't go to the grocery store and you can't go on holiday and your family gets engulfed in that. But for us, or for you, not me, but you get the best of both worlds because you kind of
Well,
get
exactly. But what's
you can
really
have a normal
interesting,
life as
Crystal,
well.
when I walk outside this industry, no
Yeah.
one knows who the hell I am.
Yeah. Which is a
So I can
shocker,
walk
but it's true.
so I can walk to the local IGA in my tracksuit without my makeup on and my roots showing, and they'll just see me as just one of the locals walking around. It's
Yeah.
actually nice. I love the way the industry have embraced me. I love the way they respect me. I love the way and I try really to be not. I try so hard not to be a show for them. I want to be just a person with them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
at the after party for the awards we just recently had, I was sitting there with a glass of water and I was chatting to some young apprentices talking about the industry, and they were so awestruck that I just sat next to them.
And talk to
I
them.
needed to sit down. My feet were hurting, and there was a
Like I
seat
couldn't
wide
walk
enough
any
that
further.
we had this gorgeous skinny little girl next to me with not much on and looking fabulous. I said, shift over, I need to sit down. And she was like, oh, like, and I'm just having this biggest chat. And then their boss came over, and then I said, oh, well, I'm going to head off now, guys. Have a great night. And then she ran after me. She said, the girls were so overwhelmed. She said they wanted to have a picture with you, but they didn't know how to ask.
Can you come
And I
back?
said, oh my God, let's do a picture and let's have a bit of fun. And, like, I just want to be like them. I am
Yeah,
like them. I'm no
of
different to them.
course.
I've just been there long enough and got a few extra brownie points. I've earned some stripes, and they too will earn
Darn
those
right you
stripes
have.
as they move through their time in this industry.
Oh my God, what a wonderful story. Oh, I could talk to you forever. I don't think there's it would ever be enough. Like, I just love having this, and I feel very grateful to have a platform that I get to record these and document these. And something that I did throughout my life besides this was I've done this with my grandparents my whole life,
That
and
is
having these
fantastic.
to look back on. I just feel privileged to have all this, like, on a recording and pick your brain and
And you know what I think is really fabulous? Me doing this for you,
yeah.
that as we move forward and, when I do leave this world for a better world, hopefully, my grandkids and my great grandkids
Yeah.
will still be able to find little treasures like this
Oh,
when they explore me, and they will get to know me
yeah.
before I was probably dribbling in a nursing home.
You'll never get to
They'll,
that point.
this is all like history in the making for them as well. And that's
100%.
one thing I always miss, that I never, well, technology wasn't even necessarily there for us. But,
Yeah.
I used to love sitting with my mom and talking to her. But that many years ago, you know, a smartphone wasn't there to sit down
You
and
weren't
press
recording a
record and
voice
listen
note
to
while you were
her.
having those heart to hearts.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
my family, the legacy that I leave, chatting to people like you about what happened for me and my past with my career, that'll be something they'll be able to always open up and listen and see me. And I think that's really cool, isn't it?
Me too. Well, I guess I mean there's so many more things I could say, but on the kind of final note of you saying when you're done, do you think you will be? Will you retire? Like when will it stop?
I think when I stop loving what I do.
Yeah. So you genuinely wake up, because I know your life is so encompassed in this, and you have your husband there and he's involved, but like, yeah, you still wake up feeling that way, like you love it and you want to be doing all
I
that
think
practice.
COVID it just causes you to think deeper than what you ever think.
Yeah.
I think because it stops, we've been made to stop so much in the last 18 months, reflecting, thinking, planning. And I think it's done a lot of deep thinking. And there are moments in time where I think, oh my God, is this going to be the end for me? But
Or is this a
I think,
sign that it should be, maybe?
is there a sign? But there hasn't been a sign. I mean, I think the day that the hair colleges agree that what I have created for the craft, which is all the units that my team have developed for over 18 months of being an alternative to the units that students are currently learning in colleges, until they embrace and say, yeah, we want your units. We're going to teach your education to our kids moving forward. I think my goal in my life will have been achieved.
Wow.
But that hasn't happened yet. But what we've developed is absolutely phenomenal. And as you know, I've discussed, I have an agreement with Sassoons. So, their units are there available. When I can see an uptake of the craft and students learning a new way, I think I really would have kicked that final goal. But not at the moment.
Yeah.
Not at the moment.
Incredible.
Yeah, I'll keep hassling till that happens.
Well, I'm here for it. I don't think we could ever get enough Sharon Blain. So,
well, it's so nice chatting with you. And, from the moment that I met you, I'd say through Candy in Melbourne, wasn't it, originally? Yep. Your boss at the time, I just warmed to you. You've got a great heart. You've got a great passion. And I know you, Crystal, will go on to be, and have already created kicked some great goals. And I think you'll continue to kick goals. And, we need people like you in our industry that have the passion and the drive and the determination.
You're going to make me cry.
Yeah, no, we do need that. And it's, you learning from us and then paying it forward to the next generation. That's what keeps us strong and alive and being, who we are.
Yeah. You got me all water worked up. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that and seeing what I'm trying to do, because I really am trying to make the most out of a crummy situation. I'm homesick. I want to be home with my family and my friends. So I really appreciate you noticing what I'm trying to do and making the most of that.
And you go, girl, and just keep going, okay?
Yeah, I hear you. Well, thank you.
I'm always, there's a big shoulder to cry on.
I keep a
You're a surrogate grandma. Well, let's talk again soon.
Roll it out of the drawer. Oh, you're the best. Thank you for your time. And I'm so excited for this episode to come out. It's going to be so, so informative.
Thank you, my love. You take care.
Love it.
Have a great day, okay?
You too. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Successful Stylist Unfoiled. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube to get all the notifications of our weekly episodes.